See here. Are we live? Yeah, we're live. We're live on YouTube. So welcome Aaron to the show.
Thank
Long
you. Thank
time
you.
long time guest, recurring guest. We're just call you co-host at this point. So what's up,
Okay.
Aaron, man? How you doing? Aaron, tell everybody who you are and what you do, man, so that they know who we're talking to.
Aaron Hassinger. I'm a mortgage broker in South Florida, and I've been doing this for 20 years.
Wow.
I just did my continuing education. I had to like check that box off, and I was like, "Whoa,
Oh, that's crazy.
milestone reached."
That's crazy. Yeah, I got into the business in 2004. You know, so just about the same time. It's crazy how time flies. So, but people tell me all the time, you were there at the good times, right?
I started in the business like when things were when people were, buying, your average person owned like 10 houses here in Florida. They didn't have any income that you could document. Um, yeah, so like when I first started, I remember seeing people in the office. They're like, "Yeah, I made like 60,000 this month in commissions," and I was like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to build up my clientele." And then, 6 months, a year later, it all fell apart. But I'm still here.
Yeah, it's the learnable lesson, right? It's the learning experience uh, that you went through. So I did a similar thing. I got my license in 2004. People were cranking out, like you said, $100,000 months, right? And I didn't see a lot of that. I saw a couple good months, where in 2004, 5, and then in 6 we started to see a little crack in the armor, and then in 2007 banks were going out of business. So and we're doing short sales shortly after that, and just kind of struggling to keep it alive, right? So the good times are followed by bad times, and bad times are followed by good times. But everybody asked me today, like, what's next, right? Is it going to crash? What do you see the market doing? And I tell them, it's you got to just keep watching the data.
Yeah, and follow your gut.
Yeah,
I learned that. Follow your gut. And if it says no, don't do it.
yeah.
Don't do it.
It's okay to walk away from a deal, right? Like it really is okay. We were just analyzing a deal here, a little bit offline, and we could definitely see a potential where we could walk away from the deal if we see anything that's any unforeseen costs, right, during our inspection period, because the numbers are already looking tight, right? But we have a particular strategy with this home, right, that we can't really get hurt with, right? You know, Worst case scenario, we exit the property, right? Best case scenario, it's a tremendous cash cow, bringing in over $1,500 a month, right?
Right.
So it you got to really analyze the deal, but don't be in love with doing a deal, right? Only be in love with doing the right deals.
Right. And right now in this market, um, what I'm seeing, at least personally, as far as clientele goes, is investors.
Yeah,
This month, I don't have one single person purchasing a home and planning to move into it. All those people are still sitting on the sidelines, and the reason they tell me is because they're waiting for interest rates to go down. But I'll tell you, the investors are still buying.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
they don't really, the way they look at it, the way I look at it is, I don't really care what the interest rate is, as long as like I'm pretty sure that I can make at least 300 or $400 a month on a property, then it's
Right,
a go, you
right.
know?
right.
Like,
Percentage
it's not so
wise,
sexy, really. That's really, like, how it typically looks.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to just be able to justify the the purchase, right, with your strategy. You got to make sense of the property. Every property isn't going to be a long-term buy and hold, right? Which those are very few and far between right now. You got to really pick it up at a good discount. A and that's it's okay to say no to a bad deal, right? The deals aren't all there, right? However, if you are into fix and flips, right? If you are into fix and flips, there is a still a pretty strong buyer pool, right? And
they're hard to find, right? Good ones right
you
now.
know, I mean, I have a lot of people still doing fix and flips. I have a couple clients that do a couple fix and flips a month, and it's just you gotta put some work into looking into them in the MLS or negotiating the right deal. But there's fix and flips on the MLS right now that are being put together. Uh, we could get some of those all the time. Investors just need to kind of move with the program. The Burr strategy is still a strategy. It's just you can't get the market isn't moving as fast for you to get all your money out in 6 months,
Why don't
right?
you tell people what that is, what BRRRR stands for?
So you're buying the property, right? You're buying an outdated house that needs remodeling. That's the second letter, the R. So you buy it, remodel it, rent it out, and then refinance it so that you get your cash back out and potentially do it again on a second and third property. Well, when interest rates were 3-4% for investors, you could and the market was moving at a rapid pace. A lot of investors were just taking out all of their cash, and they could just do this in perpetuity, right? How many can you give me? I could just keep flipping this couple $100,000 over and over and over, right? Because we had so much appreciation and the interest rates were so low that we could cover the debt service on that property so easily. As the debt's gotten more expensive and the market's cooled off a little bit, we don't have that rapid appreciation, and investors looking to leave, some of their principal investment in. But it's still a great strategy because instead of buying one property, right, you could buy three or four, right, with the same capital. Especially as we could use, you know, we could actually still use financing for a purchase and rehab and then convert that to a permanent loan later. So you don't have to even have the money for the initial purchase, right?
I'll tell
So
you, how it works on that on the mortgage side.
yeah,
I'm doing a couple of those right now for people. One of them actually is up in Melbourne, and it's like a 5 acre parcel, and the buyers they of this property, they own 10 acres next to it, and they're going to make a horse ranch, right? But they didn't know how they were going to be able to make this purchase on this house because it needs a lot of work. It won't pass inspection. It has a septic that needs to be replaced. Um, but they're getting it for a decent price, although it needs quite a bit of work. And the way that it works on that, Yobel, is 20% down. Okay.
okay,
20% down on the purchase price of the property. And if it's a decent deal and it's priced right, typically you get 100% of your renovations financed. So these people are putting 20% down on a $400,000 place. So, they're putting down 100,000, but then they're getting 60,000 in renovations financed into the loan, and they're making like the business of their dreams. I'm so happy to be part of it.
yeah. I mean, it's great because you could come in with just a regular loan or fix and flip loan, finance the X amount of renovations within that loan, and still refinance out of it later. I think it's great. I think there's still
Another
opportunities
thing
out there.
too, a lot of people don't realize this, but on the investor loans that we're writing today, these are non-conforming, they're not conventional loans.
No.
You don't have to show any tax returns or income on
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that, because that's like probably the number one reason investors don't buy more properties because, to go through the mortgage process, it's pretty paperwork intensive, but these investor loans, they're really based off of the property. Is the property good? Does it make sense? Does the renovation budget make sense? And you don't have to show tax returns. Actually, you don't even really need a good credit score. I think it starts at 600 credit score on these.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, you're putting some money down. You're putting with a 600 credit score, you're probably putting more like 25 or 30% down on the buy, but still getting most all of the renovations covered
I
if it
mean,
makes sense.
I've had the objection because I think it's the market is still good enough to do this, right? The and when interest rates come down, I believe that interest rates will come down in 2024, maybe 1%, right? In like
So they're at today's what? December 6th.
yeah,
They're at 7% on a conventional loan right now,
yeah. I think we're
which
gonna.
is better. I mean, they were pushing
Oh, really?
8.
8. Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
client that closed at 8.25 last month. So it was definitely pushing 8 and plus 8 plus. The thing is that I want to show you something, right? Because I think uh, the market's going to kind of. Oh, let me see here. I might not be able to do it.
You can do it.
No, I can't. I can't do it because I got a new computer, and I haven't set the permission, so it'll kick me out of the stream. Anyways, I'll tell you so I'll paint the picture. The the Let me go over it right here so that I could tell you. Cash transactions, right, in the state of Florida in the single family home market was up slightly at 3.5%, right? That means that there's
Compared to what? The same time last year
same
or
time,
last month?
yeah, same time last year,
Okay.
right? Same time last year. We have, 31% of all transactions in cash. That's up 28%. So people are seeing more value in real estate right now to purchase into real estate than a lot of other debt to put their cash into. Um, that's still pretty promising for most areas here in Florida. Inventory hasn't come up much in the single family homes. So I think it's a great sign for the strength of the economy or the demand for real estate here in Florida, and still opportunity for investors to come in, purchase. There's still demand. I've been working with people that rehab properties, and I'm seeing the kind of demand that there is still for properties that are fixed up. And there's still buyers, right? The majority of the buyers are going to be FHAs, finance buyers. So you still want to make sure that the homes are financeable. This goes for everybody, right? Like I have a listing right now that I can't move because it's non-financeable. So I'm going to have to,
What's that mean? It has a bad roof or
yeah,
something?
it has a bad roof, and the electrical panel is also outdated. So essentially, we can't qualify for insurance, meaning that we can't qualify for financing because you have to have insurance in order to finance. So it's made it difficult. So, but there's still buyers out in that marketplace, right? And especially under that median home price, right, of $400,000, right? If you're an investor looking to do fix and flips, that should be your main market that you should be serving. Is that
Yeah, anything
under
over 400 gets scary for me,
yeah, anything
you know?
anything over 400 is the market is still there, right? But you just have higher repair costs. It's more square footage to work on. Uh,
Holding costs, that's like
holding
the number
costs.
one thing as a
Yeah,
beginner. Like I learned the hard way. You got to count those holding costs in your
yeah,
projections
yeah.
and
I,
count
well, I
on it
do.
taking twice as long as you expected to get the work done, maybe.
Right. So that's the other thing is that, there are still buyers in the marketplace, but there's less, right? So as an investor, or as a homeowner putting their property on the marketplace, you're going to see here that we have increased a little bit of days on market, meaning that buyers are taking a little bit of more time to make a decision. That just means that, instead of flying off the shelf, right, in 2 hours with 17 buyers lined up out of your door, you're going to have to, accommodate some extra showings, right? Make sure that your house looks good for an extra couple weekends, right? But there is buyers. One thing that you cannot afford to do as a buyer, as a seller that needs to sell, right? And by needs to sell, I mean, hey, I got a job in Chicago next month, and I really don't want to keep this property as a rental. I need to sell this so that I can make the move happen. I got equity trapped in here. Whatever the case is, you're going through a divorce, it's a probate. If you need to sell, you need to price the property properly, right? Overpricing the property in this market is not what you need to be doing, because in a couple of years ago, right, in a market like that, you can overprice your property, right, and you just might have to wait, right, until
Right.
one neighbor sells, right? But in a market like this, what'll happen is that you're sitting on the market for 30, 45 days. Two more houses in the same area came up for just under you, and then they'll sell, leaving you on the marketplace.
I'll tell you for buyers too, don't be scared to make lowball offers. I just had a client get a fixer-upper under contract. Where is this one? This is in St. Lucie County in Florida. They were asking 560 and he got under contract for 460 and it was just he just lowballed him.
Yeah,
And lowballing works sometimes if it's been sitting on the market because some of these people they're thinking this is
you
like
don't know where they're
3 or 4 months ago, when
Yeah,
you where people were really just putting ridiculous prices up there. People were were making
right.
offers on it. Well, it's not like that anymore. So
No, you just got to be, realistic to where things are going to go. However, it's not like there's no buyers in the marketplace and people are just cannibalizing each other's sales, right? There's still, values are still holding in most areas of Florida, right? I've seen a small dip year over year in a couple areas, but for the most part, it's all been either a single digit appreciation, right, or just flat, right? That's what I've been seeing in most areas of Florida. Uh, Make an offer. If you see a house that's over, been on the market 60, 80 days, right? The reason you should make an offer, I'll tell you why. I'll reach out to the audience and let them know why you should make an offer when you've seen a property that's been sitting out there and any given amount of time that's over the average of 30, 40 days. Because a lot of agents don't have any way of communicating to their sellers that the home is overpriced until they get an offer,
because they
right?
just want to get that listing, right?
Well, yeah, they don't have a system. They don't know, they don't communicate to their sellers on a regular basis of the market. They don't know, they don't regularly, update the MLS on to see what's come up for sale, what's not until they get an offer, right? And then they go to back to their seller and say, "This is the only thing we've gotten in 40 days." And you, as a seller that doesn't know any better, right, goes, "Wow, I guess you're right." Right?
Mm-hmm. I got a funny story on that. I don't know how appropriate it is for your
Shoot,
podcast
it's
here.
it's just my mom watching anyways, and she doesn't even speak English, so you're good.
Oh, well, you're Cuban too. I used to call these guys the Cuban mafia, right? And Man, they had this down to a science. Guy would send his buddy over to a property, say they're asking 400. He'd go over there, his buddy, right? 290, make an offer, written up and everything with the realtor, 290. The people were insulted, told him like, get away, I'm not even counter off. Couple days later, another person, he sends another person over, his wife. She goes up a little bit. He would put in like three lowball offers with other people's names, and then he'd come in at like an angel that's still pretty low, but higher than the other ones. And that sucker got a couple houses, like more than a couple like that. You
Oh,
know,
that's funny. That is funny.
I'm not condoning that activity though. I don't think
No,
that's
no,
ethical.
I don't think I don't think it's the way that we want to conduct our business, but it's great. You know what they did, right? They price anchored the seller. Right? They gave the seller a price anchor so that they knew when they'd come in with their last person that they had on the list, you know, they knew that they started here and they felt like they were getting so much by the time they got here that it
It
was a
was
no-brainer
a
for them.
full-fledged psychological
That's
operation.
it. That's it. But if you have an agent that you're negotiating with an agent that actually knows the market, actually knows, all these things, right? Can monitor the activity, knows how many showings it takes in any given area, how long a property has to sit at a proper price, how much negotiation happens within a certain market. All that's data that is available. And if you're negotiating against somebody that knows the data, you can't, you're not going to fall for that. But the
Right, right.
the thing is that 95% of agents sell only a couple of houses a year, have been doing it for less than 5 years, right? Or less than, and then a lot of them are on their first or second transaction, that got a listing, from their parents or from their, cousin or something like that. So they're not professionally trained on any of this stuff because nobody teaches you this unless you want to learn it, right? That nobody really
Right.
teaches you how to negotiate unless you really want to learn it. Nobody teaches you how to go out and comp properties, very well. Nobody teaches you how to research data in the market very well when you're in real estate school. They just teach you how to not screw your customer and not go to jail, right? Like if you could do those two things, you could probably get a real estate license.
Man,
That's
another
it.
thing these guys used to do, I just thought of it. They'd always take the key and not put it back in the lockbox.
Oh,
So
I hate that.
so nobody else could go in.
What a dirtbag.
They were. I haven't talked to them in over 10 years, but I learned a lot, yeah, from watching these guys.
What a dirtbag. What a dirtbag. I hate when people do that. People do that on my listings, and it's so annoying because I don't normally make copies of keys, so then I got to go back to the seller, pick up their keys, make a copy for them most of the time, and then go back, put it. It's a mess. So, man, I hope they get a flat on the way home today.
That's funny.
So, but how are you seeing business and applications for first-time home buyers?
Few and far between, to be honest. And I think it's like I would think it would pick up now that rates are almost in the sixes,
Right?
because they still have programs here in Florida, like the Hometown Heroes, where people can get 5% of the purchase price as a grant that they
Wow,
literally don't have to pay back.
that's
And
amazing.
there's
But
other
it,
first-time
but do they
homebuyer
have to
programs.
do FHA for that?
No, it can be conventional.
It could be conventional as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good deal. Good deal.
Yeah, they usually do it with like the 5% down conventional loan. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good time to buy
You know what
still.
I you know what I what you know what I'm seeing as a good opportunity for a lot of first time home buyers. And listen, a big part of me, and I was just in a webinar and they said you should serve something that makes you happy, right? Like part of your day, right, or should be in your genius level activities. And as you know, we used to do the first time home buyer workshops, right? And we used to teach people how to buy and purchase properties, and and we helped a lot of people, right, purchase their first homes. And it was a lot of smiles, and it was a lot of thank yous. And man, I've rarely seen, like, I've cut people a lot of $500,000 checks, right? And they've been grateful that they got through it. But it wasn't just me. I got them top dollar for their house. I did a great job staging it, whatever. But that's something that they did, like it was their asset. And, they were happy for the moment until they deposited the $500,000, and they went out and bought something else, right? So that level of like excitement at a closing has never really reached the levels of when I just closed a first time home buyer, right? And man, like the emotions of the kids and the hugs and the, like I just won a Super Bowl, right? Because this guy had been turned down by, two other people, right? And then, we brought him together, we got him to closing, we got
Fix their
his
credit.
fixed her credit. I mean, it was just like this touchdown moment to win the Super Bowl. When they took a picture in front of this closing sign. And I mean, it was just. But that level of feeling for first time home buyers, you don't get from a lot of other people, right? You don't get from a lot of other people. It's a shame that that not a lot of people are servicing or serving that community because of price, right? I think that market's getting priced out. But with that being said, 3%, 3.5% FHA program. If they could do an 11% FHA program, right? This particular client that put 12% down on an FHA program. He got an 8.25%, right? But now he's going to be able to do a streamlined refinance, in 6 months when rates come down a bit. It's not going to cost him as much, right? It's not going to
Yeah.
cost him anything, right? It's not going to cost him anything. And then because he put 12% down on an FHA loan, he doesn't have to worry about refinancing an FHA loan, because in 10 years or 7 years or something like that, the MI drops off too, right? So this person got a one and done loan if they choose to, right? If they
Yeah,
choose to
the
stay.
FHA is nice because you can basically qualify typically for a higher amount than you
Right.
could if you did a conventional loan. And the mortgage insurance is it's a fixed rate for all credit scores, whereas on conventional, you know, if you don't have like that over 700 credit score, you're gonna get destroyed every month on mortgage insurance.
Yeah. So what do you think first time home buyers need to concentrate on the most right now? Like, what do you think is stopping most first time home buyers from purchasing a property? Because
I mean, they're
it can't
listening
be
to
money.
their uncles and their parents and their aunts who are telling them the rate's too high. That's what's stopping people. Because really the people that I'm seeing lately that do apply for their primary residence but end up not going through with it is they come back. It's not because they don't have the money, right? Because there's really no excuse. You can get down payment assistance now if it's your first
Right. That's
house.
what I'm saying. And so if we have down payment assistance, right? We have hometown hero programs. Actually, yeah, I think they just changed it to hometown program. I don't even think you have to be a hero anymore, right?
Correct,
Right.
correct.
So now it's a hometown program. So there is money there still. There is,
There's other
obviously,
things too. There's like a $5,000 grant that a lot of people
and,
qualify
and and a
for.
lot of sellers are willing to, like we're just talking about, sellers that have been on the market for a little bit are willing to, contribute to closing costs, right? All of my
Yeah,
sellers have been willing to contribute to closing costs.
we said it before, but you date the rate and you marry the house.
Yeah, well, especially like a strategy like that with the FHA, you could streamline in 6 months. right?
And when you say streamline, basically, so people know, it's like
Oh
when
yeah,
you go to refinance, you don't really have to go through the rigorous mortgage process. Most likely you won't have to do an appraisal. You won't have to provide income documents, maybe. It'll just be like an an employment verification versus, showing your pay stubs and all that stuff. That's what he means by streamline.
yeah, exactly.
Easy process. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth purchasing with an FHA loan that you then have the ability to convert it into a lower rate at no extra cost to you, because there's rules to that. You can't exceed your principal loan amount anyways, right? So
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't really work for cash out,
no.
refinances.
This is we're strictly talking about the person that wants to buy a single family home or a condo or whatever they want to buy. With FHA, condos are very difficult to purchase, so I'm always thinking single family, but it's possible. And then you just you streamline refinance this, meaning that you just convert it into a lower mortgage payment, like within a week of rates dropping. I mean, I would say that to wait till rates drop at least 1% before doing it, but
Usually it only makes sense, like depending on the amount that you owe,
right,
like 1% or maybe even like 1.5% if you
right,
owe like a smaller amount,
right.
you know?
But
But
people
there's
that
a
get
potential for that to happen, right?
especially, people that got into an FHA loan with maybe less than perfect credit, right? In 6 months, they've been making great mortgage payments. Mortgage payments have a high impact on your credit score, right? So you start making these mortgage payments, you get your credit up over a better threshold. Now you're not taking as many hits on your. I mean, it's just I think it's a great deal.
Well, the thing we didn't talk about, and what I really think is going to happen, is I think what's going to happen when rates do come down, prices are going to go up,
That's right.
because uh, that's what I think is going to happen,
Yeah,
you
because
know.
those people that said that they were going to wait to interest rates drop so that they wouldn't have to refinance, which we've already covered that shouldn't be what stops you. They're gonna kick themselves in the butt because
And
I think
they say inflation is getting better, but depending on what happens in 2024, if our government keeps giving more money away, printing up more money, then inflation goes up, and when inflation goes up, rent goes up, everything goes up except for your fixed mortgage payment doesn't go up, right?
no,
You're locked in. That's why a lot of smart people, when they realize inflation's going to happen, they purchase things like real estate because, these are 30-year fixed mortgages. They're not going to change the amount that your mortgage goes up. Your
yeah,
taxes might go up or something. Maybe your insurance will,
yeah, but
but you're locked in.
so does the investors, right? That owns your rental, and he's passing that along to you, right? His insurance
Exactly.
goes up too, right? His insurance might be cheaper, but you're not covered as much anyways. I don't think a single family home for a family should be considered an investment for all traditional purposes. I agree with the fact that the house that I'm sitting in is not an investment. That doesn't mean I can't make money off of it, and that doesn't mean that I don't have store of value here of my net worth, that I feel comfortable that it's safe because I have a lot of other assets that may not be as safe, right? So there's a store of value, there's homestead protection, and plus the average person in their financial knowledge may not be qualified to make uh, you know as a qualified investor, hundreds of thousands of dollars in a real estate REIT, right? They might not be able to put their funds in a stock market, portfolio managed by Goldman Sachs, or there's management fees for that, right? But what they can do is they could purchase a home with 3.5% down, and get a tax credit, right? They can start making equity, right? Because they're going to be buying down their debt. Yeah, the debt's front loaded. There's a bunch of counter arguments and all of that stuff. But the thing is,
Yeah, but the fact is, like,
you still need to push
everybody out
it.
there, think about your grandparents or your parents, when they get up towards the end, past retirement age, when they're older, usually like the main thing of value people have left is their house. Like
Yeah,
that's what I see. Yeah, there's other people who are good at investing in the stock market and who have always like contributed to their retirement account, but there's a lot of regular people too, like me, that have drawn money from the retirement account from time to time. And what people have left over of the most value is their house,
yeah,
in the end.
yeah. But I still have, I have my equity tapped into. I have an equity line on my house. I want to buy a new investment property to flip or rehab. I use the equity off of my house. I have it as a store of value, right?
Right.
I'm not always paying on the interest. I use it and then I replace it, right? No problem. However, it's an option for me. And if I didn't have this, maybe I'd had other assets, but that option might not be there, and I don't have the same, credit advantages of renting. And you know what? Let's say I did want to rent. Like, let's look at this from a very prudent financial advice. You need to live somewhere next year, and your lease is coming up, and you save some money. You have some money saved to move or purchase a property, and you just like, I'm a very investor savvy, right? I don't want to purchase a bad asset. Great. Purchase a good asset that you could put a little sweat equity into or remodel a little bit. Buy the right house, and in the right neighborhood, and right, that you can, in 6 months, 12 months, when your lease is up, lease it from yourself. When your lease is up, lease it to somebody else, right?
That's the plan.
And then go find another portfolio property,
Yep.
right? So if you're that conscious of investment, well, then use up all the first time, all the uh, low down payment options you get, right?
I mean, if you're really committed to the game, and I must say I'm not an accountant or a lawyer,
Yeah,
so I'm not giving advice, but you know, you can move into a new primary residence every year, really, and qualify for that low down payment loan.
yeah,
You have to live in the house for at least a year,
yeah. You
typically.
got to keep moving counties, but finding employment in different counties. But the point is that it's not as permanent as people think. Just make sure that if that's your goal, right? Like for me, I have different things that are important to me from when I purchase a house to make mine, right? I don't want to be picking up my office, right? Because I like to work from home. I don't want to lease a house, because if I lease a house, then I got to pick up my office next year. My landlord doesn't want to rent to me, or I then I have to pick up and move, right? Yeah, yeah. Some landlords want you in the house, sure, sometimes, but a lot of landlords like to sell them too, right?
Yup.
So, and I like to paint my house the way I like it. I like it, right? And I don't have to abide by a landlord's rules. So owning works for me, right? But for a lot of years, I bought a house every 2 years.
I did that too. My wife put an end to it.
Yeah, yeah. But for a lot of years, we were moving every 2 years.
Because if you don't know, if you live in your house for 2 years and you sell it after year two, between year five, you don't pay any capital gains tax on the profits.
That's right. If
Pro
I was
tip.
if I was 20 years younger right now, right? I was 20 years younger right now. 25 years younger right now. I would be moving every two, as so long as you're flexible, and you have the option I would be buying and selling a primary residence every 2 years,
Yep.
right? Or you could buy it, rent it out for another 2 years, and then sell it on the third year because it's two out of the last 5 years.
Yep.
Right, so then you collect rental income, you get more equity on it, you get debt servicing, all of those things with somebody else's money. You sell it, and it's still tax free, up to $250,000 for a single person.
That's the number one game in town.
It should be everybody's game, though, right? If you have a basic understanding or a good person to trust, there's no reason why you shouldn't be playing that game. I played it for a while, you know. And everybody that I know, people have done it with $1 million properties. I know a guy who's been building $1 million properties for the last 10 years, and he was consistently building it, moving into it, selling the other one, building it, moving into it, selling the other one. It was a constant thing for 10 years. He did this. $1 million properties.
Yep.
So
It's the way to do it.
no. Anyways,
Although, like my biggest regrets in real estate are all of the properties I've ever sold, especially that first one I bought from you in downtown Fort Lauderdale.
you know
Oh,
that neighborhood's completely
I
uh
know.
yeah,
There's that house, and now there's like high rises all around it.
yeah, it was a great neighborhood. It was a great neighborhood. But you got good money out of it.
I made money, but
You
now
know,
I still regret
I
that.
know, but you made great money on that deal. So that's you know what? If you make money and you sell it, don't look back. Right? Now,
That's the
I've
one where that's the short was it a short sale? Oh, no, probate sale that you
yeah, it was a
had.
probate. It was a
The guy
probate.
killed himself and his dog, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was part of the reason I sold it too. And once I told my daughter that, she kind of had bad vibes.
Yeah, no, it was the best thing when you bought it. It was like it is what it is. The seller didn't even want to say anything either. I mean, we got to tell him.
Yeah, I think that's a rule, right?
No, you don't have to. I think murder, maybe. You know.
Okay. Suicide doesn't count as murder.
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe the dog.
I know I didn't tell the person that I sold it to because I figured if I'm like one down the line, then that rule shouldn't apply to me.
I don't know. I don't think you have to disclose it. It's not a. I think like if there was a murder there, like it was a drug lab. I think you have to disclose drug labs for sure. That has to be under your.
It's a
I
safety hazard.
Yeah, the reason I know that is because I actually sold a house that was a drug lab one time.
That must have been in Miami.
It was in Miami.
Was it down in like the Redlands, South?
No, no,
Okay.
it was just on the border of like North Miami. It was just
Okay.
on the border of North Miami, kind of by like Sky Lake there. So it's been a good career. I've sold just about everything.
Probably had a great electrical system.
You know what, the plumbing. That's how I learned how they do the grow houses, the indoor grow houses. So they run plumbing from the showers, right? They'll take the shower thing out. They'll put PVC onto there that they could plumb all the way to each other room. So like they'll cut through the bathroom with PVC and cut another hole through the PVC. So when they turn on the shower, it waters the plants, or
Huh.
or hydroponics the plants, and then the electrical, they try not to use the meter, right? So they try to either use generators, or you know sometimes they jump the meters too. The guy was telling me, so it's a wild world. It's a wild world, but the goal is to fill every square foot of that house with lights and plants. So there was tubing, PVC tubing, going from room to room to room, right?
I've seen a couple of those on appraisals. I get them back, and I'm like, whoa! There's like no walls inside this
Yeah,
house, and there's a random well in the backyard.
Yeah, yeah, they could do it with a well. If not, they'll just do it with the shower. With the shower. If it's not
Must have been the
hydroponics,
Cuban
I guess
mafia.
if it's not with the I guess if it's not hydroponic, they could do it with the shower. If it is hydroponics, I guess they have to use the well. So I don't know. I've never grown, so I can't tell you. I just know that you have to disclose it because there might be chemical hazards.
Yeah,
So
makes
now,
sense.
the more you know. So, anyways, man, I think with a good drug story, I think we could end the podcast now here.
Hey, it was great talking to you. Have a
Hey,
great
man,
rest of the week.
have a good one, brother. Take it light, and
And people, call us if you want to make a real estate deal.
yeah, we're here for you. We're not here just to be look pretty.
That's right.
See you, man.
All right, take it easy, Yobel. Thanks.